Good evening, everyone. I have been with Lutheran Social Services for almost 27 years now, and about 9 years ago, they offered me another opportunity that I didn't necessarily choose. So I ended up in Milwaukee, coming from Green Bay, and joined the ranks of refugee resettlement. I knew nothing about it. The first 4 months were extremely difficult because I didn't know what I was doing. And so tonight I'd like to just offer you an overview of refugee resettlement so that I can kind of give you, for some of you, a review that know about this, but for others, so that you understand what the daily foundation in our office is, because knowledge is power, and we're dealing with people, and there's so many facts out there that may not be my facts, but I just wanted to give you a view from my office today. So this is our mission statement: act compassionately, serve humbly, and lead courageously. All of these are things that we do every single day in our office because refugees come to us having had to flee their homes under various circumstances, but all involving persecution, torture, violence, threats. And they didn't necessarily choose to come to the United States. But one of the things that I get to see in my office every day, or I used to, I should say, is that I used to see America in people's eyes because they were so excited to be here. And they had such great hopes and dreams for the United States. These days, since January 27th, 2017, at 4:30 in the afternoon, that all changed with the first executive order, which affected the admission of refugees into the United States. I now see something quite different. I see people who are fearful, who need reassurance that they have permanent legal status that they arrived with, and they need reassurances that what they see on TV isn't necessarily facts that they have to pay attention to. So we have to temper a lot of that. LSS Refugee is part of the piece of the pie of these tremendous supportive services that Milwaukee is fortunate to have. We work with refugees, and we also work with asylees only after they're adjudicated for permanent legal status in the United States. We're very fortunate to have other panelists tonight that can speak to the other pieces of the pie, which include people seeking asylum, DACA, undocumented people, and that sphere of services. We deal with refugees, and that's a very specific service area. So this is my elevator speech. Refugee resettlement is our democratic expression, or the international expression of the democracy that we espouse here in the United States, or that we want other people to believe that we have on a daily basis. It's a humanitarian effort between the United Nations and the United States, and that's such an important thing for me. Refugees are not immigrants, but these days are often included in that discussion. Refugees come through an organized process through the Department of State. They land with permanent legal documented status. So when people say, oh, well, they're immigrants, they're technically not. However, the United States does allow over 1 million immigrants into the United States every year, not only refugees, which account only for a very small portion of that, but also people that come under various visas, asylees, and other means. So to make it very simplistic, people flee their country and they present themselves to a United Nations office. They go through a rigorous interview process. And if they're lucky, they get refugee status. And if they're very lucky, because there's 55 million registered refugees in the world, only 22,410 came to the United States last year. Compare that to the 55 million who are waiting. Very small portion. And if they're very fortunate, they might have somebody who's already here that they know, and that person may live in Milwaukee. And so through this very complex, sophisticated process, they're able to connect people to Milwaukee. Who has a resettlement agency in Milwaukee? At the beginning of 2018, there were 3: Lutheran Social Services, International Institute of Wisconsin, and Catholic Charities. Catholic Charities decided to exit the refugee resettlement program this past July. So International Institute and LSS are one of the 2 agencies, and that case may be assigned to us. Extremely simplistic view, but that's kind of the pathway. The current administration ordered the first executive order in 2017. People kept going to court. After the 3rd time, we're walking around my office saying, please don't go to court, because every time you do, the 120-day hold on refugees began anew. And it was very difficult for us to watch that. But the presidential determination is put out the first week of October every year, and this year it was 30,000. Considering that we got 22,410 in 2018, we now know what a 30,000 year looks like. Brief trends, though, in February or in fiscal year 2016, 85,000 were admitted. That was the goal. It wasn't like we'll only let in 85,000. It's we're going to let in 85,000 and maybe more. In 2017, President Obama's administration decided to have 85,000 plus another 25,000 for Syrians, final total of 110,000. Of course, the election came, the executive order came out in 2017, and the arrivals have been greatly reduced. This year it's 30,000. 1979, 200,000 refugees were admitted to the United States. We can do better, and we have capacity to do better. So it's really important to know that refugees arrive with full, permanent, legal, documented status for the rest of their lives, as long as they're law-abiding. And if there's one slide tonight, this is the one that I want you to take home with you. Full, permanent, legal document status from the time they're admitted to the United States for the rest of their lives. They have to abide by the same rules and regulations and expectations that you and I do. The goal of refugee resettlement is self-sufficiency. The government wants them to get a job, pay taxes, become citizens, possibly become homeowners, but just enjoy the opportunity that we all enjoy here in the United States. So it is self-sufficiency. I love this picture because this came from one of my staff. He took this picture, but look at the hopes and dreams that people have for the United States. This is a camp, and they put up a White House plaque. This is where they aspired to go to. I asked my staff what happened to these people. He said, I don't know. I took the picture and I left. So we don't know what happened to them, but I think that spirit just lives on. This is the Kakuma camp in Kenya. 350,000 people live here. This is Palmyra, Syria, sometime in 2014 or 2015. Take a look at those escalators. Very Western style mall. This was it in December of 2016 after the destruction. Same elevators, same mall. But despite all of that, we know where people are coming from. We also know that our job is to greet people at the airport and let them know that they're in the United States now and that they can begin to really have hope and that they can begin to heal from the trauma that they've experienced. I want you to know that these are the services that refugee resettlement agencies provide, because it's important for you to know what we do. We greet people at the airport. We get them connected. We enroll the kids in school. We do sign them up for eligible benefits until they can get on their feet. We provide case management more intensively for the first year, and then after a while, they might not need us anymore, which is great. They're growing out of our services. We do provide information and referral for up to 5 years, because at 5 years, they're eligible for citizenship, and we provide them with citizenship assistance after that. We also help people get a job, and Milwaukee is really unique in that we have a pretty easy time finding refugees, even those with no English language. We can pretty much get them a job really quickly, within 4 to 6 months. Everybody who can work usually is. We do cultural orientation, and some of these things are so interesting to explain to people about cultural orientation. I'm sorry, I'm at a loss to think of a specific example now, but we just have a lot of laughs in our office about what things sound like to us and what it must sound like to the refugees, because it's just kind of weird. And then we also offer appointments and emergency assistance for people. They do share a lot of our hopes and dreams, and I really do want to leave you with a sense of optimism and hope that we see in our office every day, because this is amazing work, and I'm really very lucky to be involved in it. I meet some really interesting people. Today I had Thanksgiving dinner with 45 Burmese Karen. I made a big turkey. They didn't care. They had great noodles. I cared deeply about that. That was really good. But they really do enjoy, being part of America, and they love it when you partake of what they're bringing as well. So this is a woman, and believe it or not, this is a truly ecstatic look on her face because they're very reserved people. But she was so happy to get citizenship, and she got it based on her own ability to pass the test on her own in English. And she was just really proud. The United States is unique in that there's a concrete pathway to citizenship for every person who comes into the United States under the refugee program. These are 3 graduates from a single family who arrived in Madison, Wisconsin, where we have an office. They all wanted to be involved in the experiences and the jobs that they had in Iraq, but they weren't able to. They didn't have the education. So they all started at Madison College in Wisconsin, and this picture is from May of 2018, all 3 of them in one day in Madison. Very proud day, not only for them, but for all of those who knew them as well. This is one of my staff. He came to the United States from Kakuma Camp, 17 years old, 10 words of English. At the age of 22, he graduated valedictorian of Division High School here in Milwaukee. 5 years later, graduated summa from Marquette. I wanted to have Thanksgiving dinner or a get-together at my house for a holiday dinner. And he said, what will you bring? And what are you going to bring from Somalia? And he went, people always want to have refugees bring refugee food. And he said, I've never had a turkey dinner in my life. I've never had a Thanksgiving dinner. So we decided to have a Thanksgiving dinner at my house, and then my daughter got the bright idea to have him make it. So he did a Martha Stewart thing. We rolled up the napkins, put a little bow on them and things. But he made this dinner completely by himself from scratch. Everything was from scratch. And he was so proud of this turkey. His mother passed away before they came to the United States. His father chose not to come and stay with other family members. He essentially came on his own. And 3 months after this picture was taken, he got married. For the first time in his life, he had a bed of his own. For 29 years, he had slept on chairs or floors until he could have a place of his own. So the turkey took 6 hours to make. But that picture and that smile, we just love this in our office because it was a long road for him to get to this point. This is where he lived. Got there when he was 3, left there when he was 17. For you to understand refugee resettlement means that you need to have a resource that you can go to. So we welcome your calls, we welcome your emails at any time, because I think it's important that you have a resource that is able to offer you information about refugee resettlement. Even a brief question, we're happy to answer it. You're welcome to come and stop by and visit our office. We have ESL classes at 9:30. Tuesday through Friday. It's a really vibrant office. I've got some really wonderful staff, but just to step foot in a resettlement office and see what's going on in there is a wonderful thing. And then our employment workshops are always interesting, teaching people how to work in the United States, how to be on time. We close the workshop door at 10:35. The workshop starts at 10:30, and the door closes at 10:35 because an employer will not allow you to be late. So we have to kind of acculturate them to that as well. And it's not always a good feeling, but it's an important thing that we teach people how to do. And if a couple people come in and you call us in advance, we'll even have lunch for you too. Maybe not turkey, but we'll have some of those noodles for you. Okay. Once again, they share a lot of hopes and dreams, and you would not believe my staff on Monday morning at a staff meeting after a Packer game. They know more about football than I ever cared to, actually, but they're fighting back and forth. Hey, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that. It's really pretty funny. I am trying to get them hooked on this, but they have no interest at all. I really do believe that refugee resettlement is our international expression of democracy, and I hope it's what you would all like to be, because it's certainly what I want to be as well. Thanks.